You know, in your culture back home and whatnot, do you practice gay sex?
In Nigeria?
Yeah. In your culture,
Do they actually practice it?
Yeah, because you said that you looked more into the origin of what they believed in and how they practice their spirituality.
Yeah, Nigeria. No, so yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Did you practice it?
No. So
there you go. So what I'm trying to say is, but lions do it as well, and animals do it. So the culture that you're speaking of aren't exactly taking everything from the natural world.
Them seeing two male lions, mating, to them automatically they're gonna think this is wrong. Do you know why? Because they're gonna think that the male lion and the other male lion is not gonna bring forth life. And we understand that you need a male and female to bring forth life, which they would have seen.
So true, because like a lot of human inventions that we have now come from nature. Even the aeroplane. Who would have thought about an aeroplane and flying if you didn't see birds?
So God has given us signs to learn by nature.
So that's what I was saying.
And there is a whole surah in the Quran.
But can I ask you a question now, brother? If that's the most efficient way that God's used to teach man, why do we have holy scriptures? Like, so what is that? Is there a name to that religion?
Is there a name to it?
Because that's obviously a belief, right? Is it a religion?
Not really. It's not religion, but it's hard to kind of say. It's more like spirituality.
Oh, so you're more spiritual?
Yeah.
So you believe that God consists in everyone?
Yeah, 100%.
And in Islam, right, that's not a... Yeah, that's fine. Like, you can still speak though, innit? Like, so in Islam, like, that concept of God, or the being of God, being in people, not like how Jesus is presented, like he's actually God's spirit, but because we're made or we're from him, we have an essence of, you know...
Oh, I don't know about that. I think some Muslims don't really agree with that, you know? Yeah. They don't.
Yeah, oh, okay. So to know what you just said about where did that information come to you to believe it? Did you wake up one morning and think, you know what, I believe this, and I'm gonna... Because there must be evidence, right?
Okay, so let me give an example. So obviously I started off with a Christian background.
Okay.
So obviously growing up Christian.
Where are you from, your background, your origin?
Half Nigerian, half Jamaican.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so me growing up in my Christian background, obviously growing up as a child, I didn't have the thinking of knowing there's a God or whatever. Yeah. It was obviously growing up in my Christian background. So obviously I went to church, you know, God, hell, heaven,
Yeah.
So then obviously as I grew in time, I started to do a lot of research, look into certain things. So when I started examining certain different religions, different spiritualities, it took me way back to what people in my culture was, what they was basically dealing with, the spirituality that they had.
Back in Nigeria?
Yeah, so like in Africa, not in Nigeria, in Africa, Nigeria and Africa. So when I started to look at that and examine the religions and what they was doing, and how they saw the creator or God, it made sense with me that God or this being would be in everything. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm not separate.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand. To me, it doesn't make no sense how you could, if a God is separate from you, how can you connect with it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's like if you didn't know your dad, if your dad was separate from you, like your dad went away, you wouldn't be able to connect with your dad, didn't you? You'd have no connection. You see what I'm saying? But even though he created you, he could create you and then go about your business, but you don't have that bond.
But the God and a man and a dad, I think they're completely two. They have their own dynamics. You know what I mean?
I hear that, but it's kind of the same thing because the first thing that you would have known is that your dad is the one that created you, right?
Yeah.
Before you even know about God, you know that your mum and your father created you. So that's the first thing that you know. Now, you growing up and then coming into paradigm and maybe coming into, you see, you use that kind of foundation. That's how people try to understand the creator. You have to use the physical stuff to try and understand God. You know what I mean? Because we can't see this creator.
Yeah.
Only through the text.
So to know, obviously you said you went back to the culture, right?
Yeah.
Is there a name of that belief?
Is there a name of it?
And if there is, also, where did they get this idea from?
Okay, so let me ask you this. So it's like this. The spirituality that they got was based on nature, so the environment.
Yeah.
So what it was is, remember, you got to think, thousands of years ago, there wasn't like cameras, TVs, mobile phones, internet.
Yeah.
So what was people's entertainment? Would have been nature. They had to understand nature, the laws of nature to survive. Because if they don't, you'll be wiped out. So by understanding certain things and understanding things in nature, you now then think, you know what, in my community, let me jot down some things so that people understand these ways. And then that's how you create your culture. Those are many cultures that create like that. You know what I mean? Like British culture, Irish culture, whether you're Hindu, everybody has that culture that they know, which is there in their environment. So from that now, from whatever they wrote down and stuff, it was the spirituality. They could have called that their spirituality, and that was their main foundation.
What was being done, and what practices were being practiced in order for these specific people to believe that God exists in everything? So that's a big claim, isn't it? With no scientific or no evidence, no sufficient evidence to back that up. It's a big claim.
Okay, now the reason why is because remember, now when we're dealing with the term God, remember they would have had that term.
Or creator.
Even that they would have had. Now, so to understand, they would have known about the creator because they would have looked around it, see things are being made. So in nature, you would see a lion creating another lion. You see things happening. You might see ants building and creating. So just based on looking at nature alone, you can come to the mindset that there must be something creator. And you can see in nature everybody's doing it. So just on seeing all the nature, human beings, everybody creating, it's all the same in one way, shape or form. It makes you understand that obviously if there is going to be a major creator, you must be all part of that same.
So now in Nigeria now, right, where half of your origin is, right? What is the majority of what's the religion now? The majority of the people are there.
Oh, okay.
What is it now?
Okay, so in Nigeria is a mixture. So you have some people that you've got half of the state that's Christians. Half of the state is Muslims. That's more into the north. And then you have some people that still practice traditional spirituality. And then you have some that still practice traditional spirituality, but they could be Muslim as well and Christian as well. And they keep some of the spirituality going on.
So do you know God? You know, in the way that these spiritualists communicate and connect with you. What if God said, "Listen, guys, don't connect to me like this. Connect to me like this and this and this." Would you take that on board, or would you say no? I won't, and I'll connect to you how my ancestors or my friends.
If a God being came and spoke to me,
not you individually, sorry, but as humans as a mass.
So if God spoke to humans as a mass,
through other people.
Now the only thing through other people now, the only thing that would determine is the people that are saying that God said this. I'd have to figure out their mindset and whether it conflicts with my culture and my paradigm.
Well, don't you feel that culture can be very detrimental to a belief in God or the way you practice it?
Can it be detrimental? So what do you mean by that?
Because personally, for me, for example, right, I'm Muslim, right? And I believe that there's certain cultures that can be detrimental to the religion. For example, you have, let's take it back to everyone here loves to talk about Saudi and whatnot, so let's talk about Saudi, right? How the women don't have as much rights as they're entitled to through Islam. And that's because of culture. So now their culture has been detrimental to their religion. But don't you feel that your culture and where you're from can be detrimental to you being successful in the hereafter, in the life you will live next?
Well, it depends now, because that's the thing, because where there's so much, and this is the thing, where there's so much culture, because remember, I believe that most of the religions stem out from the culture. You see what I'm saying? That's why, regardless of the culture of Saudi, it's still entwined with the religion because you speak the Arabic tongue. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's still entwined with that culture. But where I have my culture, this is why I don't have an issue with beliefs or people's beliefs. Because wherever in my culture, wherever I'm grown up to understand in spirituality and what we practice, it's it's fine for them.
Yeah.
Now, whatever someone else does over there, it's fine for them. But then the issue that comes now is then when people have a religion and they go and say, listen, what you guys are doing over there is wrong, what you guys are doing over there is wrong, what I'm saying is right. Do you know what I mean? But to them, it doesn't seem like. Yeah, this is what they know. You see what I'm saying? So then this is the only issue that people have.
Yeah. But I'm going to give you one crazy, it might sound extreme example, right? I'm going to give it to you anyway, just so I hope you coach understand, right? Yeah. For example, right? If there's a guy over there and he says, I believe raping people is okay, right? Yeah. And there's another man that says, I believe it's wrong, right? Who's right and who's wrong? Because he's got his opinion, What's the truth?
What's the truth?
Yeah, because you said, you know, there's people who will say to you, the way you practice is wrong, the way I practice is right. Who's right then? You know what I'm saying? Who's right?
No one will know. No one will know who's right. Nobody will know who's right.
Yeah. 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 It's what, sorry? Stealing, yeah. Theft, yeah. Yeah. Well, listen to this now.
What would you base your thought?
Okay. For example, listen. Okay, let me answer. Yeah. So, in the Quran, you're taught to be just and be fair, right? So if I take this gentleman's bag from him, that's his bag. You get me? That's his belongings in there. How unfair would it be if I took that off him? It's unfair, isn't it? Like, he ain't done nothing, you know. I've got my stuff, you've got your stuff, innit? So it's bad if I take your stuff off you, right? But what I'm trying to listen to what I'm trying to say, right? But in the Quran, right, it says stealing is wrong, right? I'm sure any. But what I'm trying to say, any sane person would say stealing is wrong. Although, right, Islam is very flexible. And for example, if you're a very poor man, very poor man, right, you're allowed to, you know, take like an apple from a fruit. You get me? So if the thing is the Quran, pardon? Yeah. Oh, okay. So what I'm trying to say is that if Islam said that stealing would be fine, I wouldn't be a Muslim because that makes no sense to me.
Where are you basing that thought process on?
Because listen, it's like if I steal this man's jacket, he's gonna be upset, innit? You're gonna be upset. You bought it, you went to work, you bought that jacket, right? It's your jacket, it's not mine. So that will be. So if Islam said you can steal things, that's basically saying you can upset people. You can upset people. You can do things that upset people. You can do things that can corrupt society. Because if Islam said, yeah, you can steal stuff, you'll be going around stealing, you know, this, that means society's corrupt now. Sharia law? No, because, for example, for example, right, I might have an opinion. Who do you support? Football team. Football. How about you?
Arsenal.
Are
you going to have a convo with him?
No.
Because you kind of drifted. I don't know. Me and him was chatting about something.
Yeah, carry on.
Well, I can't remember. What was it you said?
You were actually talking about. I asked, you know, can your culture in Africa, right? Can it be detrimental to your spiritual or your religious belief? Yeah. Because of certain things, and I used the example of Saudi Arabia as an example, as women have some more rights than men, but you wouldn't think so because people look at Saudi as the Muslim capital, but yet women can't do a lot of things. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now this is detrimental to their religion. Yeah. You know what I mean? So do you think that has happened to you, or it can happen to you, or it's happened to people from where you're from?
Okay, I think the question that you asked as well that you gave was, let's just say if one person was raping someone, and you said if another person didn't rape.
No. If a man said, I did say just for the guys that came here, it's an extreme example, right? Yeah. If a man said, I believe in doing this sexual crime is allowed or it's good, and another man said no, it's bad, who's right? And what basis are you going off?
And that's the thing, that's what I was going to ask. No one will know who is right. Yeah. Nobody will know who is right and who is wrong, because the thing is, depending if that person's in their culture and they're doing that, they don't have no text, and obviously the person that's saying it's wrong, obviously wherever they got the answer to saying that it's wrong is obviously in that culture or that paradigm that they're in. So if they both come together and you have to pick to that person that knows that. They're gonna say, well, this is why I grew up. This is why I understand. But the person that was wrong, they'll be like, hold on, but that is wrong. So who's gonna be the judge to say? But you know what I mean? Who's going to be the person that says, listen, yeah, he's right, he's wrong?
Yeah. So you basically answered by saying this guy who's doing it is obviously from a culture that are less developed, isn't it? Obviously.
No, it doesn't mean they're less developed. It just means that's what they do. It's different.
But don't you think they're not socially developed if they're going around still doing this act?
But then the thing, when you're saying socially developed, who's the one that what is the marker to say this person is more socially developed because they do this act and that? Who gives that authority? That's the thing.
I know what you're trying to say, and this is what it is now. Because you said you're spiritual, so obviously you believe in a force, right? Do you think that this force that you believe in would condemn this act?
What do you mean? No, but we don't know, because that's like, if you're dealing with someone that's dealing with nature,
right?
Now, if you're dealing with nature, if you see a lion go to another lion, a female lion, and jump on it, and mate, then the lion walks off, goes to another pride, jumps on that mate. You see what I'm saying?
So you're comparing us to animals now?
No, because remember, I'm talking about nature now. This is spirituality in that culture. This is what I'm saying. So when you've seen it in that way, where those people who don't have books in these texts, obviously from this creator, and they're dealing with just the natural. When they see these things, they see it day to day. So they might think, hold on, lion's doing that. This is my entertainment. Remember, this is what I used to learn. So they might go and do that. So you now that's got a book, or someone that has a book now and says, hold on, this is wrong. If you meet up with that person, you can't tell them that's wrong, because they're like, listen, this is my culture. I'm built up in nature.
But what if you gave them a great backstory and description of that book you have? It came from this source. It came from this source. Here's the evidence. Where you gave them everything and put it on the table. Yeah,
if you gave them all that is okay. The person that you've got the source from, where can I find it? Where can I see it? You're going to say the text, but then they're going to go to you. But
who wrote the text?
You see what I'm saying? They're just going to loads more questions. But they can say to you, but I have my evidence right here. When you ask, because when you say to them, who told you this? You say, nature told me this. Do you see what I'm saying? So then you can't argue that, because you don't go, look over there.
But for example, I know in Africa, right, homosexuality is bad, right? They don't do it. I know Barack Obama went to Africa and he tried to go and say, you know, homosexuality, it's all right, and they ran him out, basically, go away. Right?
Of course.
You'll get animals in nature where the same sex have sex.
Yeah, 100.
So but in Africa, this is not allowed, and they wouldn't practice this in culture.
It depends on what. No, it's not allowed, but it depends on the. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the cultures. Because you don't know what other people are doing in the cultures. You see what I'm saying? The majority might say it's not allowed, but it depends on the area and the culture. You see what I'm saying? Because you might actually, we don't know. You might have some tribes of people that are doing that.
Do you know in your culture back home and whatnot? Do you practice gay sex?
In Nigeria?
Yeah. In your culture.
Do they actually practice it?
Yeah, because you said that you looked more into the origin of what they believed in and how they practice their spirituality.
Yeah, Nigeria. So when that's what I'm saying.
Did you practice it?
No. So
there you go. So what I'm trying to say is, but lions do it as well, and animals do it. So the culture that you're speaking of aren't exactly taking everything from the natural world.
No. So this is. I understand what you're saying.
Nigeria is a heavily religious country to begin with.
That's there.
The brother's referring to like before there were Islam, before there was Christianity. You're referring to when people.
We don't know what they do. What we know is that since they've been colonized and religion has been a major part of the culture.
Then that's coming. So I don't know.
So what I'm saying is, do you know when you looked at the history of the spirituality that was practiced back there, you didn't look about the sexuality and what was practiced, what wasn't practiced, what was wrong. Because the brother just said you don't know what their sexual preference was, right? So I'm asking you, how much did you look into it?
No, that's what I'm saying. So at the moment, as I'm looking into it, it's not just focused in Nigeria. It's the whole diaspora. Because it's the whole diaspora. Because remember, Nigeria, that's a place, that's a name that's been given to a certain group of people. And those people who are there in that area in Nigeria, like we said, are heavily religious. So when I'm dealing with the spirituality in general of different cultures, that I dealing with nature, just basically understanding your main environment. You know what I mean? How to eat, how to feed, how to respect your parents. You know what I mean? Those type of things. So them seeing that, the question you're asking, them seeing two male lions, mating, to them automatically they're gonna think this is wrong. Do you know why? Because they're gonna think that the male lion and the other male lion is not gonna bring forth life. And we understand that you need a male and female to bring forth life, which they would have seen.
So do you? I 100% agree with you. It's true, right? And have you inherited that belief then?
What do you mean?
That two men shouldn't do it or weren't created to do it because they can't bring life.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, so you share a belief of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam already, or that one belief.
Yeah, I hear that, but no. Or Judaism, Christianity share the religion, came from the same.
Yeah.
But you would say that they share it with those people because obviously that's the first time you would have understood that before.
No, what we're trying to say, because as a Muslim, I believe that the first people on earth, right, they were very conscious of their God and they knew what was wrong and right. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay, so let me explain it again. Before anybody gets any books, and they read and saw a man and a man sleeping together is wrong. You would have understood that by nature because you would have seen that you and your wife would have come together and then you create child. This would have been happening. Those people prior to books. Now you would have seen animals doing the same thing. But then you might have seen two male lions doing it and then thought, hold on, that's not bringing forth kids. So they're not going to carry on. So that would have been your first teacher in nature, understanding that before any scriptures come. So the nature, really and truly, would have been the teacher at that point in time.
No, but I understand you, but because we're coming from different bases, you see. You get it?
But the thing is, the reason why I say that is because nature would have had to be the first teachers. You know why? Because if those people back then didn't understand nature, we wouldn't be having this talk about religion anyway. Do you know why? Because
that's what happened.
Because if they didn't, because
God used nature to teach us human how to act. So what happened with the sons of Adam when he killed his brother? He didn't know how to. He didn't know how to bury him. So God sent him.
If you are gay, then you cannot be turned on by a woman.
Another crew and bury him. So basically,
it's so true because like a lot of human inventions that we have now come from nature. Even the aeroplane. Who would have thought about an airplane and flying if you didn't see birds?
So God has given us the signs to learn by nature.
So that's what I'm saying.
And so there is a whole surah in the Quran.
But can I ask you a question now, brother? If that's the most efficient way that God's used to teach man, why do we have holy scriptures?
This is what I was going to say. Then there'll be no need then.
Reminded.
What for what though?
Reminded.
Nature will be the one to remind you.
Quran, most of Quran is reminded. So why you are saying that there is no God? Why you are saying the water? Why you are saying the trees? So he is saying again, look around you. So God in Quran, he is mostly saying, look around you. And you are denying that I am existing. Look around you. Look at the sea. There is two kinds of water that are not being mixed. Look at, and you are denying that I am existing. There is a Rahman, Surah Al-Rahman. So basically, a Rahman is just look around you.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is, and it's true what you were saying about why would they be the scriptures, because it's true. He said reminded, yeah? But it's true because now, the reminder that you would need is to go back into the nature then. If nature was the one that helped you understand these things, the first thing that you want to go is go back to the source there. So you go back and you understand nature and then you slowly come back to your senses.
And there's something, sorry, and what books were sent for, because nature didn't cover everything, so God needs
everything like
you.
For example, heaven, for example.
Okay, so then so that's the only thing. The only thing that
unseen, basically.
All morality. Do you know what I mean? Morality. For example, animals kill to eat. You get me? Is it alright for me to go and kill someone now and eat them? You know what I'm trying to say? So we can't always depend on nature for everything.
What do you mean animals kill to eat?
For example, you mentioned lions earlier. So a lion will hunt a zebra, jump on it, yam it up, etc. You know what I mean? So is that something? Hang on. If a lion does that, can I go and jump on another man and eat him? And
that's something that every animal does. So it's not like it's a must.
No, bro. What I'm trying.
What I'm saying
is,
some people did do that. The cannibalism.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say, bro, is that
some people. So it depends.
The brother said here, the Quran taught things that nature didn't cover. You get it?
The point.
Like morality, how to be civil with people, how to speak to people, how to treat people, because that's not something that we can learn from animals all the time.
People had rules for how to do.
If you put a dog and a cat together,
what you just said was a false statement. People had rules for engagement way before any religion was invented. People knew how to had some sort of arrangement of society or dealing with each other without any concept of religion.
Bro, what I'm saying is Islam taught morality to people and how to treat
Right, and what I'm
other.
saying to you is that even before Islam, Islam, there was morality. There was definitely some senses of morality. Because all Islam did was gather up what morality there was around and bloody regurgitate it. There was nothing new that human beings had got magically and needed and didn't have before. All the morality that was in the Quran was already on the planet, and human beings had already invented it way before any magical book.
In the city where Muhammad, where he was, there was no morality there.
Bro, that is got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. If there was no morality there, how was there fucking people? They would have all killed each other or died off or something.
Bro, they were killing each other all the time.
So how was there anyone left? Bro, if there was no morality, how was there anyone left? Bro, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. How can you make those sort of claims? There was no morality in the city where Muhammad was until the Quran came. That is bollocks.
No.
That is bollocks.
No, what
Muhammad said,
no.
Bro, that's not what we're talking about. What we're saying is that human beings had morality, a sense of morality, and a method of working it out and establishing it way before any magical book was invented.
Brother, I'm not disputing that. What I'm trying to say is...
So that's exactly the opposite of what you said a minute ago.
I'm saying in the hometown where he was, there were very bad practices. And
I accept that. What you said, there was no morality at all.
Okay, brother, I worded it wrong, brother.
Okay,
but the morality was...
But you understand why I'm not accepting that?
You're saying everyone was bad, or it came across like that, but he's saying of course there would be good people.
The further back in
history
history you go, the worse morality you will see. But what I'm saying to you is that we had methods of developing morality way before people started writing magical books. That's what you have to understand.
He didn't say to learn you or to replace your morality.
No,
to complete it. So basically he's saying you have your morality, but some practices you have is wrong. So God sent me, Prophet Muhammad said, to complete your morality, just to remove the bad things.
He failed then because the morality of the world isn't that much better because the Quran turned up. In fact, some would argue it's worse. Some would argue it's a lot worse. So what God sent down failed. So God's book failed.
Because they are not reading the book.
1.6 billion people do read the book, and 5 billion people read other versions of the book.
I mean, I guess the sincere people are nicer as they could be if they didn't read it.
The simple fact of the matter is, nobody needs religion to be good. People are good or bad, whether they're good or bad. Now, if they happen to be religious, they will associate it with their religion. Fine, but the fact of the matter is, nobody is good because of their religion. People are good because they're good. People are bad
through experience, and compassion comes through knowing pain.
You can be better without religion.
Me personally, I think...
Yes, you can. I'm an atheist. I'm as good as you.
Has been done.
Do you know who gives the most?
Yes. What's the percentage of people in prison in every country? In every country, there's a higher percentage of religious people in prison than there are non-religious people. Every single country on the planet. So explain that.
Wrong.
I think,
really?
Me personally, I think we should go back to nature then. Maybe we should go back to nature and see how that worked, because at a certain time, it was a bit alright.
Nature will help us to understand loads of things, and we didn't need to make up this magical rubbish, these silly stories, to pretend that we needed a magical source for morality. That's just stupid. We worked out morality, we worked out ways of doing it, and it's down to our life experience. Then we built rules, and these books were just human beings came and copied these rules that we'd worked out the hard way, and said, oh, guess what? We got it from magic. Don't kill people. Duh! Don't kill people. We needed a magical source to tell us don't kill people. Don't be stupid. You're making us seem like stupid. You know what I mean? Human beings weren't that stupid. Yeah, we'd already worked out don't kill people. Otherwise, how are we going to survive?
That was the main thing in nature. Everything in nature needs to survive. Regardless of the book or not. If people don't survive, the book won't survive. You know what I'm saying? Because if there's no people, what's the purpose of the paper and the book? So the main thing is survival. Everything in nature survives. You know what I'm saying?
How do you know, as you said, the spirituality, how do you still practice that, as you said, now in Nigeria? Most of it's
not
Christianity.
Just one thing you get, it's not just dormant for Nigeria. Yeah. Spirituality in itself is understanding nature.
No, I'm saying that because you said that's where you went back to, that's where you studied back
to.
No.
I said, you asked me, that was my culture. I'm half Nigerian, half Jamaican. Yeah. Some of the spirituality is in there, but it's also in the diaspora of Africa. You find it in different cultures in Africa. Not even just Africa, different places. Any place where people are dealing with their natural environment and understanding how to live and survive, that's their spirituality. You see what I'm saying? So how I can use that today is, okay, I know.
Your explanation of spirituality is quite different from what most people say.
Yeah.
You bring it back down to physical reality and physicality again, whereas most people do the opposite. They take spirituality to mean abstract, the exact opposite, away from nature and physical reality.
You have a sort of animism, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
So like you said, how I would connect with that, like you said, how can I use that today? So okay. we know that some of the foods nowadays that we're eating is not right for us. So the spirituality that I'll use is go back into the nature and deal with the natural foods that is good for my body. Do you see what I'm saying? You got all these diseases that are coming up now because of the food that we eat, the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking. So then now I have to go back to the spirituality that I learned in nature to understand and fix my body. And then that will help me to think clearly and see more, you know what I mean? I won't be in a state of I won't be in a place in my mind where I'll be crazy, because right now human beings in the Western world and in these world are actually going crazy because foods ain't right, the air ain't good. Do you know what I mean? Healthcare is bad. Do you know what I mean?
But the Buddha here said, I don't know if you said it a few minutes ago, that Quran, how it came down, is more of a reminder. And what reminds me, why I brought that up is because I know in the Quran it says eat from what's good from the land.
Okay.
You know, and there's a correlation between what you say about eating good foods and what the Buddha said about the Quran being a reminder. Okay. So do you feel like, would you, if there was enough evidence for you, would you agree that the Quran would be a reminder for humankind to live, how to live life in this modern day age?
Now that's the thing. Now I wouldn't just use the Quran, because I couldn't just say just the Quran is the one that shows it, because I can go to the Buddhists and whatever they're saying, it could be the same thing. They could be saying, listen, eat right from the land. And then I can go to some of the Hindus and they can say, what we eat from the land is good. Then I can go to some tribal people. So what I'm trying to say is, anywhere where they're talking about natural stuff and eating right from the land and being and having a good well-being, it's fine. But the moment we start going into what happens after I die, and start going into heaven and hell, and you're gonna go here and there, that's when it kind of loses me. You see what I'm saying? That's where I kind of like, I can't really agree with you on that point, because they might say something else about where they go.
What's the meaning of Quran reminder? Reminder of what? Okay, let's say that you are a grandfather or somebody, and you say it to your son, do this, and he start doing this, right? And then the grandson of you, he was wanting to do the same as you told your son, but he didn't do it well. So basically, the uncle came and remind the grandson what the son was doing. So basically, the Quran is reminding people of Injil, what taught people, and Injil came to taught people, remind people of what Torah came to taught people.
Okay.
So reminding people of the previous books.
Okay.
That's why God was telling Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, teach them and remind them and endorse them of what they have already in their book, between their hands of other books.
But those are to the people that have books, because there's people out there that don't have no books. And there's tribes that still don't have no books.
You just say it about Buddhist people, they have books.
No, I'm just talking about the way they're talking about, I don't know what book they have, I don't know.
They do have books.
I'm just talking about the spirituality, as in if they're talking about getting food from the earth and how to live.
Bro, do you know how you said these people didn't have books at the time, right? Yeah. In Islam, that we taught, we strongly believe that there was, what was it, like 120,000 prophets. So what my argument would be is possibly these people you speak of had a messenger from God, and that's why they were.
But then that's the thing. Now this is the thing. I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to disagree. Yeah. That's your belief, like you said. You believe that. Yeah. You don't know that, but you believe it, because obviously the Quran says it. If you believe that, it's fine. I don't have an issue. Yeah. If you were going to say that they had these books and that, I don't have an issue.
I'm not saying books, but I'm saying necessarily they had
a message.
A message. They had a way of living.
If they did, that's fine. If they did, that's fine. I don't have an issue. Yeah. But it doesn't, just because if they did have their own message and their message, it's not going to all of a sudden make me want to think, okay, I must be a Muslim now, or I must follow the Quran. Yeah. If they had their messages, they had their messages. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah. But wouldn't you, like, isn't it something that's worth looking into though? About where did they get the whole living from?
What do you mean they live?
I'm saying, don't you think it's worth looking into whether they did have like messages and people come to them and?
Why? Because that's now me. If I do that now, you said there's how many? 100 and what?
120,000.
120,000. So now you want me to spend the time more than that. So you want me to spend time finding out what these 125,000 messages.
No, not all of them. Just a few, man. One or two, I don't know.
Okay, one or two. So then now I look at these one or two, and then what does it do for me?
Pardon? Oh no, the brother's referring to way before them, innit? Yeah. Way before them. Before.
So when I look at their messages, what if most of their messages are talking about natural things? What do I do now? Or one of them might be different from the other. Remember, I think
it's best because you asked what should I do now. It's best that what did they claim? Where are they from? Why are they teaching what they're teaching? You know what I mean?
Why they teach? But the thing is, it's not for me to. If they're teaching whatever they're teaching to those people,
yeah,
that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. The main thing is, I'm just gonna deal with myself. So what I know is right to me. You see what I'm saying? Whatever they're gonna do for other people.
What if this thing that you are considering that it's right to you, it's harming others?
Harming others?
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, I think
the one who is stealing money from the bank, it's right to him, but he's basically stealing other money. What if he will harm somebody with a knife, but it's right to him?
But also,
if there's no rules that all people agreeing with these rules, there will be a mess in the society.
That's diversity. That's nature.
That's nature. That's how it goes.
You have to have diversity. Not everyone can be the same animal.
Exactly. Because I was going to ask the question. What's this?
That's how it works. Not everyone. Not all the flowers are the same colour.
Exactly. Yeah.
For example, we have rules of the government.
Yeah.
Now we are living, and we are agreeing with each other. We don't have fights. We don't have blood, because there is reward and punishment.
No, people still do it though, regardless of the rules. People still do the bad stuff.
When they are,
well, let me ask you a question.
When they are planning it to be avoiding this punishment.
But we can't go back to what you were saying.
But when God,
I don't know.
When God is promising you that you will never be avoiding this punishment. When you will steal somebody or you will kill somebody.
That's an abstract idea. It's unknowable. Whereas we can know that if I stole your wallet now and I got caught, it would be a punishment.
I get what you're saying, because I was wanting them shoes, but to somebody who believes, not those specific ones, are they New Balance?
Reebok.
PE teacher shoes. I remember PE teachers used to wear them back in the day.
I'm not PE. I'm teaching.
But yeah, to you it would be like an abstract idea, but to someone who is convinced and believes in it, it's fact for them.
It works for you.
Yeah, it actually fact for them. Do you know what I mean?
It will affect you.
Yeah.
Well, his belief in God will steer him in a certain way.
That's crime in Saudi Arabia. Much less crime.
Yeah, probably less crime in Holland as well. Holland.
What does that mean, pantheist?
I believe this is all God.
Okay.
Everything is God. Yeah, I think pan is the Greek word for all.
Yeah.
And theist obviously is God, so all is God. I don't see it as, well, it's difficult. I suppose there's an idea of, yeah, kind of. I believe in a God form, or a God can present itself to you and appear to be outside of you. But as far as I'm aware, there's only one moment. This is the eternal now, and everything within this moment is the moment expressing itself in many forms, and it's only ever now. There's no time ultimately, but it's the illusion of separation.
Is that ideal? Is that ideal for you? Ideal.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
That's what I can know that by experiencing it.
Yeah.
So all I know is that there is this moment now. There's no future or past as far as I can see. It's just movement within the moment. That's how I understand it. So the moment divides into two: man, woman, up, down, black, white. To know itself, it divides. Then it divides into three: me, the viewer, the act of viewing and the view. Right? So here we are, and this is the moment. It's dividing within itself, and that happens eternally.
Yeah.
Now, whether there's a God sitting outside
watching,
judging us,
on that.
I don't. There's the illusion of that. It can be an illusion, but ultimately, even when you go into heaven, you'll be in this moment
again.
Or hell, it's
still a moment again.
All is here now. That's how I see it. I'm not suggesting you have to believe that, but I'm just looking at what I see.
Yeah. Oh, done. Yeah.
So your punishment will be here only.
I'm cool still.
I don't expect a punishment.
To see more videos like this, subscribe to Titans TV down below. Thanks.
The greatest darky that bite with shark teeth and hate malarkey. Who you? The greatest heartbeat, ancient Egypt as a matriarchy. Who me? The one with the S on his chest when the motherfucker go by. Who you? The one everybody calls your highness cause the weed got you feeling so high.